want to talk a little bit about things that happened in just around me in the last week and last few days. Kid I went to school with since I was really young, who was in like all of my classes, especially later on in grade school. Really bright, really nice, friendly, caring kid. One of like the nicest people I've met. Like probably definitely one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. He was in a situation kind of similar to mine, but different. He went to school for physics, and I think he had his PhD or went for his PhD. And he was working out in California, living out in California. He had some drug problems, and I think he was in a situation where he was homeless, and he was found. He was found, dead outside. But he was, one of my friends in school growing up. Just like one of those people who, never had anything bad to say about, and was just always just a smart, bright, friendly kid. Who I'm glad that I could call as one of my friends throughout my life. But like, his family and my family have become close, and knew each other growing up. He's got two younger brothers, and I think my family like kind of like looked at his situation a little bit too much and compared it to mine as if they're like apples and apples, but they're really not. I've progressed a lot in the struggle, and I think my father kind of just let the situation go to his head, like a different situation that wasn't mine, instead of just listening to me from the beginning about my situation that started with my job and my company. Ever since I used marijuana and like tried other harder drugs or did them, my family just stopped listening to me more and more over time about just anything about me in my life. Just stopped respecting me more because they've never used drugs. They never understood them. Obviously there's a time and a place for them, and using too much of anything and being irresponsible about using something is bad. Like, you can't misuse things. But I mean, responsible use of things in certain situations, isn't necessarily a bad thing. There's also, I would highly suggest, if you're ever considering using any kind of drug or anything for any reason, I can't, obviously anything I say isn't going to stop you or make you want to do them, but like, I would say, like, factor in your mental toughness. Be very honest about your mental toughness and evaluate that into your consideration if you're going to try them or use them. Your mental toughness, and like, obviously the people you're around, your environment, things like that. I'm very, very mentally tough person. I'm one of the most mentally tough people I've ever met in my entire life. To have all the stuff that I've talked about happen to me happen, as I know as it has, and to overcome it how I have, you have to be one of the most mentally tough people on the planet. And I am. But his situation, horrible situation. And it's so ironic because he's the person who told me about meditation back. I was out in New Paltz, and he was out with one of my friends, and they were kind of like off on the sideline, and I was out doing my thing. I was dancing with girls, trying to meet different girls, and I went over and went to talk to him, and I think he could see that I was kind of running around like frantically trying to like seek girls' attention, and I don't know why, but he told me that I should try to meditate when I was out in New Paltz at a bar. And I was like, I listen. He's like the kind of person that you listen to. When he says something to you, like, you stop and you listen and you think about what the person that is talking to you is telling you, because he's a very smart individual. And I did some research, and I started using it, and And like anytime I used it and felt its benefits, I try to reach out and thank him for it. But like if he just used what he told me a little bit more and a little bit more every day, it would have helped him with his situation so much. And it helped me with mine. If I didn't start meditating when the people at my job were going around lying about me and all the stuff around my community was happening, and I felt like I was literally losing my mind. I felt like I was literally losing my mind because my whole world around me was changing, and I had no part of it. I didn't take any action in it, and there was nothing I could do to prevent it. And I was like, the world around me was like falling apart like I was Chicken Little, and I was literally losing my mind. And the thing that kept my mind sane was meditation, only because he mentioned it to me as early as he did. So I thank him for that. I wish he would have used meditation as he told me to use it. And that's something that in my success as an entrepreneur, and my success as my business and my music is already opening windows to people to be able to meditate and practice regularly and make it a part of their daily habit to eliminate things like stress and irresponsible drug use and things like that. So I'm already impacting the world around me by producing music that promotes things like meditation. But like, yeah, I think my family just tried to compare like an apples to orange comparison. And like just not, the moment I started using substances that my parents did not trust and respect, like going back to college, even though I was successful at the time, it didn't matter. My family's relationship was destroyed because, I mean, it started happening when I started using things that my family didn't understand and didn't respect. And a situation like this probably doesn't help their understanding of it either, because they're not looking at my situation at all. They're not looking at the fact that I was in, a magazine, that there's a bad side to how situations like these can go, and there's a good side to how situations like these will go. And let's not, obviously look at and learn from bad things in life, but let's also acknowledge and see what's in front of you. Like my situation, more people were paid more attention and more awareness to my situation when it was worse than it was better. That's shit society. That's bad. That's really bad. So I'm going to be very vocal about it as I continue to succeed. Because people pretend to care about situations like this, but they really fucking don't most of the time. So that's why I'm going to fucking talk about this. That's what that indication is. That's what that is an indication of. The fact that people paid more attention to my situation when it was worse than as it got better. I'm producing some of the best EDM music I've ever heard in my life, and I've been living in a fucking van for my van hasn't run in a year. I converted a van, and I've been in it for 3 years traveling, which, that's not the biggest thing. I did Uber Eats, all the stuff that I did in my van in 3 years, and then in a year to start making music on my own, making beats on my phone, and producing the kind of music that I'm producing, and being in my van in only a year. That's fucking amazing. Wake the fuck up, people. But I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say about this. There's different ways that situations like these can go. Obviously part of my situation is choice, but I've been treating this as an office space, and I've been following through on all the work that I produced and the content I produced by working in this office space, even though, I haven't put fixing the alternator and making it a drivable vehicle in the last year a priority. I'm trying to be a good example for people in situations like these, so I don't feel like there's nothing for them. There's nothing left. There's nothing to give up. My family stopped listening to me, stopped trusting me. I didn't give up, though. I didn't give up on myself. They still don't trust me. They still don't respect me, and they probably never will. They're probably always going to try to be a part of my life without trusting me and respecting me, and they're going to end up just putting a lot of pain on themselves because I'm too smart for that at this point. I know that I'm in my situation because my family because my family didn't listen to me about my job originally. They didn't trust me enough. They didn't respect me enough to listen to me about my job initially. And that's how my situation got as bad as it did. My family is 100% responsible for that, for not listening to me and not respecting me and not trusting me. And just all the things that I've done, my life regardless, that are ironic to the way people from that job talked about me. It is what it is. But, like, I'm just trying to be an example for somebody who was my friend in the past and for other people, like, in similar situations that he was in, that I was in, where you feel like you have nothing. You feel like there's nothing, there's no reason to continue, and you're trying to think about what to do next. But there's always something to look forward to. There's always something to be grateful for. There's always ways to improve. There's always ways to get better. Don't let the world keep you down. Don't let certain things, like thinking like the only thing you have to live for is like a drug or like, something. Like, don't let your world, your life just like dwindle away because you're not optimistic about what your future can hold, because one little thing can change. And if you just keep maintaining a positive mindset, a little bit of things can change every day, and a little bit of things can change every day, and a little bit of things can change every day. And you can put yourself in a position that I've gradually been able to put myself in, where I started making music. It wasn't very good about a year ago. Now it's at a point where I have fun making it. I'm producing it all over, and it's just going to help all my other content that I've been making for the last 2 years that people have maybe recognized, maybe haven't. But, I'm going to continue to build a better version of myself for the old version of myself, and for people, like the person I talked about in this video at the beginning, to show an example. And there's another person that I went to school with who was in our group of people who I would think could have the ability to change the world or make a big impact on the world. Really bright, young, individual people who went away on a trip to Costa Rica, and I think he was trying to save somebody, and he ended up drowning, passed away when he was in college. And there's 2 people now from a group of kids I went to high school with that I thought could really have a huge impact on the world, potentially. And it's sad. It's sad to see such talent wasted. When you see such talentless people in the world that exist, and you have to deal with them. So it sucks to have people like this who no longer are with us. But I refuse to be a casualty like that. I refuse to, let my situation, which mostly, I'm not being conceited about this at all. I was there. I was in that office every day. I'm going to talk about it in my book. I'm funding my word for that book. If you don't understand that, I'm funding my word because I know my words are going to be worth something to me, and they're going to be worth something to other people too. Because I was there and I know what happened. But what happened to me was a big part of other people's doing. I could have left that job earlier. I could have communicated my situation to my family a little bit better. I don't know how much better, but I did a damn good job of telling them right off the bat. I mean, it's an embarrassing situation when people are saying things about you that, like, aren't true, and you don't want people to, like, hear or say themselves. So, like, they put me in a really shitty fucking situation, the people at that fucking job. Because I'm a respectable individual. And I don't just shit on different people because they're different than me, necessarily. Especially when I know that they're like me and they're not different than me, and I'm doing it for a manipulative reason for them to leave the office because they impact the social chemistry of the office. And that person literally showed their Tinder at work and did all to demonstrate who they are in their personal life. But regardless, that company's they're buried and done. Their reputation, their legacy is in my hands, baby, because I'm gonna work to be in that situation so my voice can talk about the situation, how it happened. But I'm not gonna let me, like shitty situations, good people, examples of good people being put in bad situations, and be another example of a bad ending. It's not gonna happen over here. Continue to work. Continue to be a better version of myself and learn from my experiences and the experiences of others, and try to inspire positivity and benefit people, whether they understand it or not initially. Just trying to make a positive impact. It's hard. It's really hard sometimes, but I'm trying to make a positive impact. My situation was also a little different because I was like a womanizer for 5 years. I went out to the bars and met women and created debt for myself and used Tinder and used Bumble to get women to come to my apartment. And whether I was dating them, whether we were just spending one afternoon together, a night together, I met a lot of women over 5 years. Those are just facts. And half of the people from my area half the people I knew saw me for that, and half the people I knew saw me for this like geeky engineering nerd. That was my situation personally. So when people at my job were jealous of me, a lot of people saw it as them like making fun of me, but they were really just, a lot of them were just being jealous. And I'm gonna fund my own fitness and get back to, and I'm gonna stop talking about things like this. That's definitely a big part of it. But it's just a superficial world, man. You can't be real. You can't talk about bad things. You can't talk about hardships. Everyone's got to be perfect and pretty and freaking. Everything's perfect. That's the world you're supposed to live in, or else there's a problem. There's something wrong with you. Fuck off. That's trash. A fake plastic fucking interpretation of how things should be. That fucking is so, oh my God, it's so fucking weak. It's so stupid and weak. But I don't know. I can't feel bad for myself because I know all that I've done, and all of my successes and all of my wins, and the fact that I lost track of my body count in 2017 because that's literally how many women I would meet on the weekends since I was 19. Yeah, that's who I am. But everyone's situation is different. My situation, half people saw me for this nerdy kid, and half people saw me when I went out to the bars and put on the moves on the dance floor, the same rhythm that you hear in my music. I can be a smooth motherfucker, and if I analyze the things that make me unappealing and unattractive to the superficial fucking normal fucking woman in the world today, I can do pretty well for myself. And yeah, enough. I will say this: it's pretty crazy how superficial of an indication of a world this is. That my size, whether I'm 160 pounds, 165 pounds, 170, 175 pounds, 155, 150 pounds, that 5 pounds from my body size and my body type drastically changes how people see me and treat me. It is so stupid. It is so dumb. If I'm skinny or if I'm bigger and I have more muscle mass on me, the stupidity is reflected into my face. so bad that it goes through my fucking mouth into my fucking stomach, and it makes me want to regurgitate every piece of gum that I swallowed that's still in my fucking stomach, along with all the fucking food. That's how irritating the superficiality of that situation. Like, if I just put on 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, how irritating that makes me feel when I think about it. I'm trying to describe it as accurately as possible so you can get a sense of how I feel.